Can get started. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining this informational webinar on the Partnership for Reading Success Massachusetts, otherwise known as the PRISM II and III grant programs. I am Laurie McNally, the PRISM III grant coordinator, and I am joined this afternoon by my colleague Octavia Nixon, the PRISM II grant coordinator, and literacy content lead, Allison Pickens. We are your hosts for this webinar. Throughout this webinar, please put your questions in the chat. We will be collecting all questions and answering them publicly on our PRISM II and III frequently asked questions document that will be posted on the PRISM website shortly after this webinar. A recording of the webinar will also be posted on the PRISM website. I'll now turn it off to Octavia to get us started.
Thank you, Lori.
Sorry about that.
Go back.
Yep.
Great, thank you. So we're happy to share that Massachusetts educators have two exciting grant opportunities, each backed by major investments in literacy. PRISM II is funded by Massachusetts State-funded Literacy Launch Initiative. The goal of Literacy Launch is to strengthen early literacy from age 3 to grade 3 by expanding evidence-based, culturally and linguistically sustaining literacy instruction, ensuring more students read and write at grade level by the end of third grade, with the focus on equity. PRISM III is funded by the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant, also known as CLSD. This federal investment supports literacy from birth through grade 12. Massachusetts uses these funds to promote high-quality, evidence-based literacy practices, especially in communities where disparities based on race, disability, or language status impacts student outcomes. Together, these funding sources power PRISM II and PRISM III, supporting schools and early education providers to adopt, implement, and sustain high-quality literacy curriculum materials and instruction that meets the needs of all learners. These investments translate into real opportunities for district schools and early education providers through the second cohort of these competitive grants. That's PRISM II and PRISM III.
We will into the PRISM II and III programs. We will review the purpose and goals of each program, share information such as eligibility requirements and competitive priorities. We will also share the funded activities, grant timelines, and details regarding the PRISM curriculum and instruction coach, as well as important considerations for ensuring an accurate and timely application submission. We will end with a review of other application supports available to you while you apply for the PRISM II and III grants, and we will ensure to leave time at the end for any questions to be typed in the chat. As a reminder, we will be collecting these questions and answering them publicly on our PRISM II and III frequently asked questions documents that will be posted on the PRISM website shortly after the webinar.
Before we dive into the specifics of each grant, we want to focus on something that is important and similar between the two programs. For both PRISM II and PRISM III, the following LEA characteristics are considered priorities and reflect a strong commitment to this work. A commitment to evidence-based, inclusive, and culturally and linguistically sustaining literacy practices for all learners. This means grounding instruction in research while ensuring that all students, including multilingual learners, students with disabilities, and students from diverse backgrounds, can access and engage with grade-level content. A focus on building and sustaining systems and routines that support effective implementation of high-quality instructional materials. This includes establishing clear structures for district and building leaders, instructional coaches, and teacher teams to collaborate, plan, and continuously improve instruction. A clear acknowledgement of literacy achievement disparities, along with the commitment to addressing those disparities. Strong applicants are able to identify gaps in outcomes across race, income, language status, and disability, and articulate how this work will support more equitable literacy outcomes. the ability to bring together a diverse coalition of stakeholders who are invested in this work. This includes educators, administrators, school leaders, families, and school committees, all working together to support the goals outlined in the proposal. And finally, evidence of leader and teacher readiness to engage in the work of HQIM selection and implementation. This may include prior professional learning, existing momentum, or established structures that position the district to take on this work successfully. Overall, we are looking for districts that are not only ready to adopt high quality instructional materials, but also prepared to implement them effectively through strong systems, collaboration, and a focus on equity, believing that all students are capable of succeeding with grade level work. Now we're going to talk about PRISM II eligibility and important size considerations. Please note that you can find this information about PRISM II eligibility in the PRISM II RFP. For PRISM II, all Massachusetts public school districts, charters, and collaboratives are eligible to apply and can apply with any of the following grade bands. Pre-K only. LEAs may apply for pre-K only if at the time of application, the LEA is using high-quality instructional materials for Tier 1 instruction in grades K to 3 ELA literacy. Folks could also apply for pre-K to 2, pre-K to 3, K to 2, and K to 3 grade bands. All schools serving the selected grade band must participate in the PRISM II program if awarded this grant, up to a cap of 15 participating schools per applicant. For applicants with more than 15 schools, the LEA will select up to 15 schools to participate. If you have more than 15 schools serving students in pre-K to 3, please don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like support in selecting which 15 schools should participate. If applying with a narrower grade band, the PRISM Curriculum Council must include representation across pre-K to grade 3 to support vertical alignment. If including pre-K in the PRISM II work, LEAs must include all public pre-K classrooms within participating schools. LEAs may also choose to include community-based pre-K programs. For districts receiving the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative, also known as CPPI grant, inclusion of community-based preschool partners is required.
And I'll now share details specific to PRISM III eligibility and important size considerations. All Massachusetts public school districts, collaboratives, and charter schools who meet the CLSD, which is the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant eligibility requirements, are eligible to apply. And as a reminder, CLSD is a federal grant, which PRISM III is funded by. LEAs must have at least one school where 50% or more students are from low-income backgrounds, and this percentage is 40% for high schools. And one question we received is whether or not the school that meets that eligibility requirement needs to be within the grade band that you are applying for. And that is not the case, as long as one school within the district meets that eligibility requirement. This is a federal requirement for the funding and cannot be bypassed. LEAs can apply to focus on any grade band within the 4 through 12 range. LEAs selecting to focus on all grades within the 4 to 12 grade span must demonstrate capacity to support this initiative at such a large scale. All schools serving the identified grade band must participate in the PRISM III program if awarded this grant, up to a cap of 15 participating schools per applicant. For applicants with more than 15 schools serving grades 4 through 12, the LEA will select up to 15 schools to participate. For more information on eligibility considerations, please refer to the PRISM III RFP, the PRISM III application support one-pagers, and the frequently asked questions documents, all of which will be linked on the PRISM website shortly.
Now let's talk about the competitive priorities for each grant. It is important to note that what we are about to discuss are just the competitive priorities, not the requirements for eligibility. Applicants who meet and demonstrate competitive priorities within their application receive numerical advantage during scoring. However, applicants do not need to have competitive priorities in place in order to apply. Competitive priority points also do not guarantee award to any applicant. Having competitive priorities means that during the scoring process, applicants are awarded additional points for each competitive priority. Competitive priorities that are met are all additive. In this case, eligible applicants may meet and therefore earn points for 1, 2, 3, or all of the competitive priorities for the PRISM II program. Again, this does not mean that only applicants that meet competitive priorities will get awarded funded. Awards for funding are determined by competitive priorities in addition to the qualities of proposals. For PRISM II, competitive priority points will be awarded to LEAs that meet one or more of the following priorities. LEAs with a below average overall proportion of students meeting expectations on the 2025 Grade 3 ELA Literacy MCAS, LEAs where the total student population includes 10% or more students identified as English learners and or 40% or more students from low-income households and or fewer than 1,000 students enrolled in grades K to 3 based on DESE's enrollment by grade report at the time of application. LEAs currently implementing literacy curriculum materials that do not meet expectations for quality based on a third-party review and are planning to replace those with high-quality instructional materials. LEAs identified as chronically underperforming or located in the strategic transformation region, LEAs with at least one participating school and the bottom 25% of proficiency rates on the ELA MCAS. Prioritizing these factors ensure that PRISM II resources are directed to schools and programs that can make the greatest impact. As a reminder, these details can be found on the RFP to further support your understanding.
And I'll now share the competitive priorities for PRISM III, which differ slightly from PRISM II. And as previously stated, what I'm about to share are the competitive priorities for PRISM III, not the requirements for eligibility. Applicants who meet and demonstrate competitive priority within their application receive numerical advantage during scoring. However, applicants do not need to have competitive priorities in place in order to apply. Competitive priority points also do not guarantee award to any PRISM III applicant as well. Competitive priorities are LEAs with below average overall proportion of students meeting expectation on the 2025 ELA Literacy MCAS. Entities whose total student population is comprised of 10% or more students identified as English learners and or LEAs in chronically underperforming status and in the strategic transformation region, and LEAs with at least one participating school in the bottom 25% of proficiency rates on ELA MCAS. I'll
Now
now
that,
pass,
yes,
sorry,
thank you.
I'm
No
going to
worries.
pass it back to Octavia, who will share more about PRISM III details.
Thank you. So now we're going to jump into PRISM II programming. So we've discussed eligibility and prioritization. And so the PRISM II grant will support local education agencies, also known as LEAs, including districts, charter schools, and collaboratives, to evaluate, select, purchase, launch, and implement high-quality instructional materials, also known as HQIM, in grades pre-K to 3 for up to 2 years, depending on the track and also pending appropriation. This grant will empower educators with hands-on support, high-quality instructional materials, also known as HQIM, and expert guidance to bring to life relevant, real-world literacy learning experiences for every student. There are 2 tracks depending on where you are in your evaluation and selection journey, which we will go over shortly. So to apply for PRISM II, applicants must select one of the 2 tracks. Track 1 is designed for LEAs that have already completed a comprehensive evaluation and selection process and are ready to purchase and implement high-quality instructional materials and ELA/literacy beginning in school year 26-27. Funding support implementation begins July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. Those applying for Track 1 should plan to purchase high-quality instructional materials in summer 2026. To qualify, applicants must demonstrate that they have evaluated and selected HQIM and are prepared to purchase with the grant's financial support. In Track 1, LEAs will specifically purchase pre-K to 3 ELA literacy HQIM, which may include a comprehensive core program addressing all components of the literacy block, a foundational skills resource, if not already included, for example, Apple Seeds, pre-K curricula from the EEC approved list if applicable. Also note the grant covers 50%, no more than $400,000 of the cost of materials. Engage an optional publisher provided professional development to support launch focus on both technical and pedagogical orientation to materials, and prepare for and begin implementation of HQIM during the school year 2026-2027. Please note that LEAs applying for pre-K funding must complete EEC's preschool curriculum review process prior to application and select from the approved list if you're interested in applying for Track 1. For Track 2, LEAs will participate in DESE's Implement and May Evaluate and Select HQIM network throughout the school year 26-27, establish and regularly engage in a PRISM curriculum council, develop an early literacy instructional vision and implementation plan, participate in EEC's preschool curriculum review process, if including pre-K, ensuring alignment across the pre to K3 continuum, begin working with a PRISM curriculum and instruction coach, starting in the launch phase, which will begin for estimation of March 2027. Review leadership coaching and curriculum-based professional learning to receive curriculum coaching and professional-based professional learning to support implementation planning, and then purchase HQIM and prepare for successful launch in spring 2027. Track 2 LEAs awarded PRISM II for FY27 will be able to apply for a continuation into FY28, pending appropriation and funding availability. Continuation funding is not guaranteed. Continuation funding is based on available funds and progress through PRISM II activities. Now let's spend some time learning a little bit more about the funding and resources that will be provided by the PRISM II grant. This information can be found in the RFP and budgeting guides for PRISM II. Please make sure you are looking at the budget guide for the specific grant and track you are applying for. Across both tracks, there are a few core areas where funding is available. Across both Track 1 and Track 2, funding can be used for the instructional materials procurement. PRISM II will reimburse 50% of the cost of high-quality core ELA or literacy materials up to $400,000 per LEA, with the district responsible for the remaining balance. As part of the application, LEAs will need to submit an itemized quote or use the estimate provided in the budget workbook if a quote is not yet available. For grades K to 3, materials must meet DESE's current curate definition of high-quality materials at the time of application or selection, whichever is more current. For pre-K, materials must be selected through EEC's preschool curriculum review process and chosen from EEC's approved lists. If the selected materials do not have a foundational skills component, funding may also support the purchase of an additional foundational skills resource at the 50% reimbursement rate. And importantly, Apple Seeds is funded at 100%, including printed and decodable text for kindergarten through grade 2. Funding can also support publisher-provided professional development, which helps ensure a strong and well-supported launch of materials. So for Track 2 specific funding, in addition to material funding, Track 2s include dedicated funding to support the work of evaluation, planning, and early implementation. This includes educator stipends for work beyond contractual hours, such as participation in the PRISM Curriculum Council, implementation planning, lesson and unit internalization, student work analysis, building teacher leader capacity, developing targeted supports for diverse learners. Could also include substitute coverage, which can be used in place of stipends to provide release time during the school day. PRISM II Track 2 also includes PRISM curriculum instructional coaching, which will begin in the launch phase of the evaluation and selection process around March 2027. Each LEA will work with a DESE approved coach. Coaching supports system building, implementation planning, and instructional leadership. LEAs will contract directly with the curriculum and instruction coach. We will provide more information about the coaching component of this grant later in the webinar. Track 2 LEAs will also receive the opportunity to engage in publisher-provided professional development. District may budget for this, and the coaching funds cannot be used for publisher PD, but publisher PD funds may be reallocated to coaching. There's a key distinction to note between tracks. The key difference to keep in mind is that both tracks support the purchase of materials, but track 2 includes additional funding and structured supports such as stipends, release time, and coaching to help districts evaluate, plan, and prepare for implementation. Track 1 does not include these additional DESE-supported structures and is intended for districts that already have the capacity and systems in place to move directly into implementation. Track 2 grantees will have the opportunity to apply for continuation grants into FY28, pending funding availability. Continuation funding is based on the availability funds and progress through PRISM activities. The continuation grant will focus on continued support from a DESE-approved PRISM curriculum and instruction coach, the ability to strengthen the PRISM Curriculum Council and support the development and implementation of the PRISM Literacy Plan, including coaching and inquiry cycles for continuous improvement, leading regular progress monitoring and goal setting on walkthroughs and lesson preparation, providing curriculum-based professional learning for inclusive and culturally sustaining implementation of new materials. This funding structure aims to empower educators and improve literacy instruction across participants. Now that we reviewed how funds can be used across both tracks, I want to briefly zoom in on what it looks like specifically for Track 1. Track 1 runs from July 1st to 2026 through June 30th, 2027, and is focused on purchasing and launching high-quality instructional materials. During this period, districts will use funds to purchase pre-K to 3 ELA or literacy curriculum materials for participating schools and classrooms. As a reminder, these materials must meet DESE's definition of high quality, and pre-K selections must come from the EEC-approved lists. In addition to purchasing materials, districts may also use funds to support publisher-provided professional development. This is really intended to support a strong launch, helping educators understand both the structure of the materials and the instructional shifts required for effective implementation. This professional learning typically focuses on both technical orientation, such as how to navigate and use the materials, and pedagogical orientation, meaning how to teach them effectively. It's also important to note that this work from purchase through the initial launch should occur within the grant window. That means between approval and June 30th, 2027. So overall, Track 1 is about moving directly into implementation, since the LEA will have already completed an evaluation and selection process, ensuring materials are in place and educators are prepared to begin using them effectively in the 2026-2027 school year. Now shifting to Track 2, this track spans a longer period, from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028, pending funding, and is designed to support districts through evaluation, selection, and implementation. In year 1, the focus is on evaluating and selecting materials. Districts will participate in monthly evaluation and selection network meetings and use tools like the Evaluation and Selection Progress Tracker to guide and document their work. Districts will also engage in ongoing meetings with their PRISM Curriculum Council, which plays a central role in leading the evaluation process and planning for implementation. Again, more on that later in this webinar. By spring 2027, districts are expected to select and/or be in position to prepare to select in order to purchase HQIM, and at that point, will begin working with their PRISM curriculum and instruction coach.
Thank you, Octavia. Now we will review the PRISM III grant program, keeping in mind that while there are some similarities, there are key differences that I will take note of. As a reminder, the Partnership for Reading Success Massachusetts PRISM III grant will support local education agencies, including districts, collaboratives, and charter schools, to evaluate, select, purchase, launch, and implement high-quality instructional materials in grades 4 through 12. Up to 3.5 years of funding will be available to recipients, pending funding and appropriation. Please note that this is a longer grant program than PRISM II, aligning to the CLSD federal funding that supports this grant. This grant will empower educators with hands-on support, high-quality instructional materials, and expert guidance to bring to life relevant, real-world literacy learning experiences for every student. To apply for PRISM III, applicants must choose which track to pursue. There are 2 available tracks. For more robust and comprehensive information and an explanation of PRISM III's program details, including track activities and timeline, please refer to the PRISM III program details document. I will give a brief overview of those tracks here. Track 1, Year 1, which for PRISM III will run from July 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027, ending on September 30th because that will then align to the federal fiscal calendar. This track is for applicants who have HQIM in place and are interested in implementation support. Track 1 awardees will begin working with their PRISM III curriculum and instruction coach summer 2026. Track 2, Year 1, which again for PRISM III will run from July 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027, again to align with the federal fiscal calendar, is for applicants who are ready to go through the evaluation, selection, and adoption process for core curricular literacy materials in the 2026-27 school year, to then implement in the 2027-28 school year. Track 2 awardees will participate in DESE's Evaluate and Select network during the 26-27 school year and will begin working with their PRISM III coach spring of 2027, which will be about the time to align with curriculum and adoption to prepare for launch. Pending future funding, PRISM III Cohort 2 grantees may receive continuation funding for year 2 and 3, ultimately ending September of 2029. I do want to take a moment to clarify how funding for PRISM III will work during the first year. The funding for the grant in the first year, which again will run from July 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027, will be distributed in 2 parts, but it is still one single grant award overall. First, there is the initial funding that is available right now. There is about 1.3 million currently available. Districts will submit a budget for this portion as part of the application process under the 594B budget. This funding will cover the period from about July 1st, 2026 through September 2026. There is then a second portion we anticipate but cannot guarantee. There will be about a $3 million funding being released from the federal government expected early fall. If and when that additional funding becomes available, DESE will provide guidance on how to update and submit that increased portion of the budget. That funding would then cover October 26th through September 30th, 2027, which would complete full year one of PRISM III. Most importantly, to apply for PRISM III, you will use the budget calculator and instructions from the budget guide to determine what amount to submit in your initial budget. It's important that you follow the directions carefully and only submit the initial budget and not the total yearly budget for year one. The budget calculator and budget guide instructions will make this very clear. Finally, once districts are awarded, there will be an opportunity to meet one-on-one with DESE so that we have an opportunity to review, discuss, and finalize your individual budgets and clarify any questions that awardees may have. Now on to PRISM III fund use. Each track will have a unique budget guide that outlines how the funds will be used. There is a track 1 budget guide and a track 2 budget guide. This information can be found in the RFP and aligned budgeting guides. Please make sure that you are looking at the budget guide for your specific grant, so meaning PRISM II or PRISM III, and the track, whether track 1 or track 2, that you are applying for. The general fund uses that apply to both tracks include stipends for educators to serve on the PRISM Curriculum Council, stipends for educators to support PRISM work beyond their contractual hours and duties, stipends for substitute coverage funding for educators to support PRISM III work during contractual hours, stipends for educators attending PD or working beyond contractual time, contracted services. This is for leadership coaching and professional development from the PRISM curriculum and instruction coach, and then a separate contracted services line item budget for publisher provided PD. Track 2 specific fund uses. And again, that is the track that will be evaluating and selecting HQIM during the 2026-27 school year will receive stipends to support the participation in DESE's HQIM evaluation and selection network and instructional materials procurement. Funding will cover 50% of procurement costs, not to exceed $400,000 per LEA for high-quality core ELA literacy curriculum materials. The awardee is responsible for the remaining of that purchase. I'll now share a brief overview of PRISM III activities that highlight some, not all, key components of the grant participation. As a reminder, there are 2 tracks, so depending on where your district is in the process. Track 1 for districts that already have high-quality instruction materials in place. In this track, the focus is on strengthening implementation. You'll develop and hold ongoing meetings with your curriculum council, and beginning in summer 2026, you'll start working with a PRISM curriculum and instruction coach. There will also be regular classroom walkthroughs at least 3 times per year to support and monitor implementation practices. In the fall of 2026, you'll complete a brief landscape analysis to reflect on progress and identify next steps. Professional development and learning are key parts of this work. This includes both support from the PRISM coach and publisher-provided PD connected to your curriculum. You'll also participate in bi-monthly reporting and meetings with DESE and continue to develop or refine your district's literacy action plan. Track 2 are for districts that are starting the process of evaluating and selecting high-quality instructional literacy materials. In this track, you'll participate in monthly evaluation and selection network meetings and use a progress tracker to guide your work. You'll also create and meet with a curriculum council throughout the process. The goal is to select and purchase your HQIM by spring 2027. At that point, you'll complete a brief landscape analysis and begin working with your PRISM curriculum and instruction coach. To prepare for launch of your curriculum implementation, you'll also engage in curriculum-based professional development, both through PRISM coaches and the curriculum's publisher. Lastly, Track 2 grantees will also participate in bi-monthly reporting and partnership meetings with DESE. So while the starting points are different, both tracks are designed to support districts in building strong, sustainable literacy systems, whether you're refining implementation or selecting and launching new materials. I'll now turn it back over to Octavia, who will share some details regarding the PRISM curriculum and instruction coaches.
Great. So as promised, we're going to talk about the role of the PRISM and curriculum and instruction coach. These coaches are evaluated and approved to serve as PRISM coaches by DESE and will support high quality implementation of HQIM and ELA/literacy through coaching and professional development aligned to your district's literacy action plan. For PRISM 2 and PRISM 3 Track 2, the supports begin once materials are selected. Again, typically during the launch phase, which will happen around March 2027 and continues through implementation. For PRISM 3 Track 1, this support will begin right when the grant starts this summer. Some of the work the coach will support in your LEAs includes the following: analyzing the current state of ELA/literacy instruction. The coaches will work with your team to analyze your current instructional landscape, helping you identify strengths, gaps, and key shifts needed to support HQIM implementation. Building leadership capacity at the district and school level. The coaches will also partner with districts and school leaders to build capacity, ensuring districts and school leaders have the system structures and leadership moves in place to support and sustain this work over time. Providing ongoing job embedded coaching to schools. A key component of coaches' support is ongoing job embedded coaching. This means the work is happening with your existing structures along with teachers and leaders rather than as a separate initiative. Designing and facilitating curriculum-based professional learning. The coaches will design and facilitate curriculum-based professional learning, supporting both the technical use of materials and what it looks like to implement them in an evidence-based, inclusive, and culturally and linguistically sustaining way. Monitor progress towards implementation goals. The coach will also support progress monitoring, helping you track implementation over time and make data-informed adjustments based on what's happening in classrooms. Developing resources to support HQIM implementation. And finally, coaches will help develop tools and resources to support consistent implementation across schools and classrooms. Overall, the coach serves as a key partner in this work, supporting not just professional learning, but also the systems and conditions needed for strong, sustainable HQIM implementation. Now we'll spend some time discussing the plan for PRISM 2 and 3 coaching support. I want to take a moment to clarify how coaching support differs across PRISM 2 and PRISM 3. Starting with PRISM 2 Track 1. This track is focused on districts that are ready to purchase and launch HQIM immediately. As a result, there is no DESE provided coaching support in Track 1. Instead, support is centered on the materials themselves and optional publisher provided professional development to help you get started with implementation. In contrast, PRISM 2 Track 2 does include coaching, but it begins at a very specific point in the process, as noted. Coaching support starts in March 2027, which aligns with the transition from evaluation and selection into launch planning. At that point, districts are matched with the PRISM curriculum and instruction coach, who supports development of implementation plans, preparation for a strong start, curriculum-based professional learning, and leadership coaching. So for Track 2, coaching is intentionally timed to support districts once you've selected materials and prepared to implement them. Now shifting to PRISM 3, which serves grades 4 to 12. For PRISM 3, Track 1 coaching begins much earlier for Track 1, starting in July 2026, right at the beginning of the grant. This is because Track 1 is designed for districts that already have HQIM in place and are focused on deepening implementation. Coaching in this track is ongoing and includes leadership coaching, job-embedded instructional coaching, curriculum-based professional learning, and ongoing progress monitoring and refinement of implementation. So here, coaching is a core continuous support from there. Finally, for PRISM 3, Track 2, coaching again begins in spring 2027, similar to PRISM 2, Track 2. This aligns again with the point at which districts have completed evaluation and selection and are prepared to launch and implement HQIM. So just like PRISM 2, Track 2, at this stage, the coach will help refine implementation plans, prepare system instructions for rollout, and support the transition from selection into high-quality implementation. Now we're going to spend some time talking about contracting with PRISM curriculum and instruction coaches. So first, just a reminder, all PRISM 3 districts will receive coaching support, but coaching support is specific to Track 2 for PRISM 2. PRISM 3 Track 1 districts will begin receiving support this summer, whereas Track 2 districts for both grants will receive coaching support once districts have selected materials, again, around March 2027 when you are preparing for implementation. As a reminder, their supports will include professional development, leadership coaching, and instructional coaching, working together to ensure you're not just learning the materials, but implementing them effectively through strong systems, leadership, and classroom practice. Districts will contract directly with their assigned coach. For contracted services, you will enter into a contract with the PRISM curriculum and instruction coach through a master agreement established by DESE. Recommended matches are based on district context and coaching expertise, and you will work directly with your coach to determine a coaching plan that best aligns with your district-specific goals and implementation needs. DESE is not a party to the district coach contract, so final decisions regarding the coaching plan are made between the LEA and the coach. That said, LEAs can also utilize one of the DESE approved PRISM coaches for this work, just one. As we start to close out, we're going to quickly recap both grants. So as a reminder, PRISM 2 for pre-K, for Track 1, it is for folks who are ready to purchase HQIM at the time of application. Track 2 is for folks who are ready to evaluate, select, and purchase HQIM during the 2026-2027 school year. As a reminder, here's what you'll get. Funding for HQIM, purchase and publisher PD, up to 2 years of support depending on track. So that's for Track 2 folks. Coaching and professional learning to support implementation for Track 2. Stipends for educators and curriculum council, again, Track 2. And then lastly, a supportive network to evaluate and select HQIM. That is again for Track 2 only.
And I'll recap PRISM 3. So a brief overview, PRISM 3 supports grades 4 through 12. There are also 2 tracks. Track 1 is for districts that already have HQIM in place and are looking to deepen implementation. Track 2, they are ready to evaluate, select, and purchase HQIM during the upcoming 2026-27 school year. You will get up to 3 years of support, coaching and professional learning to support implementation, stipends for educators and for the curriculum council, a supportive network to evaluate and select HQIM specific to Track 2, and funding for HQIM purchase, and publisher PD, again specific to Track 2. So before getting into the application components and how to apply, let's highlight the why you should apply and what your schools, educators, and students will receive through the PRISM 2 and 3 programs. You will have the opportunity to strengthen core literacy instruction, build sustainable systems, address disparities in literacy outcomes, gain time, funding, and expertise in service of improved literacy experiences and outcomes for all students, especially those who have been historically underserved. To ensure that you are best prepared to apply, should you decide to do so, our team will be putting a few key resources in the chat for both the PRISM II and PRISM III grant opportunities. In the chat, you will find a link to our PRISM website, where you will be able to locate the RFPs, program details, and all of our application supports. In the RFP, there are links to all documents that you will need to apply. This includes, again, the program details and the budget guides and budget calculators aligned to specific tracks. Before applying, please read through all documents carefully to make sure that you are prepared and have all of the information needed to apply to the specific grant and track in which you plan to submit a proposal for. Before you start reading, we want to spend a moment going over the application components and their accompanying supports. PRISM II and III applications should be completed on GEMS. On GEMS, you will be able to enter a budget and respond to application questions as well as upload key related documents if applicable. Information about what and how to submit your budget can be found using the budget guides and budget calculator found in the PRISM II and III RFPs. It is important that you use the correct budget guide and calculator that is aligned to the track you are applying for. For now, I will focus on the grant application questions you will complete and what the grant review team will be looking for. The first few questions focus on gathering the primary contact and leadership details for your grant application. So what you'll need is the primary grant contact. This is the person that we will contact for any questions about your proposal. You'll need to provide their name, role, email, and number. Your PRISM lead. If your application is successful and you are awarded, you will need to designate a PRISM lead who will be the person responsible for overseeing the PRISM 3 initiative, 2 and 3 initiative in your district. You'll need to provide their name, role, and phone number as well. Grade band. You need to specify the grade level your application is targeting, and then track selection. You'll choose whether you're applying for track 1 or 2. You will also need to list all schools that will be involved in the initiative, whether in your district or part of a consortium. You will indicate the number of PD days you will anticipate dedicating to this work for the upcoming school years. Lastly, you will indicate what early literacy screener your district uses. The second set of questions contains narrative questions about your district's motivation and readiness for the grant, as well as your approach to curriculum and equity. For example, some of the questions will ask you to describe why your district, charter, collaborative, or consortium wants to participate and how it aligns with your goals. For track 1, you will explain how you selected the high quality instructional materials you plan to use. If you're part of the Implement MA network this year or in previous years, please include a link to that progress tracker. You will also be asked to discuss any disparities in literacy achievement based on factors such as race, socioeconomic status, language status, or disability, and how your district has worked to address them. The final portion of questions focuses on literacy leadership and professional learning. You'll let us know if you have an existing literacy leadership team, what their roles are, and how they will evolve to support the new curriculum, and be sure to include the role of principles in this process. Describe the professional learning opportunities your district, charter, or collaborative provides, including contracted professional development days and common planning time for teachers. Highlight the types of supports your educators may need to effectively implement the new curriculum, especially for students who are historically underserved. Share how you've involved a diverse stakeholders in previous initiatives and how you plan to engage them in PRISM.
In addition to our webinar, as we come to a close, there are a number of supports on the PRISM website that Lori already mentioned that you can access for support throughout the development of your application. Office hours will be held virtually on Wednesday, April 15th and April 29th from 3 to 4 p.m. These sessions are an opportunity to discuss your local context and ask more questions. You must register beforehand if you plan to attend. You can find a registration link on the PRISM website. As a reminder, again, on the website, you'll also find important application supports, such as the FAQ document and other documents that will support you as you work through the application for PRISM 2 or PRISM 3.
It is important to state that the 5 p.m. deadline is a hard deadline. Applications are due by 5 p.m. on GEMS on Monday, May 11th, 2026 for PRISM 2, which is the pre-K to 3 grant. Applications are due by 5 p.m. on GEMS on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 for PRISM 3, and again, that is the grades 4 through 12 grant. No exceptions can be made for that 5 p.m. deadline. So even if an application is received at 5:01 p.m. on the due date, that is considered a late application. This is a DESE-wide policy that cannot be adjusted. We highly recommend starting the application early and ensuring that all GEMS permissions are established early in the application progress. As a reminder, applications must be submitted in GEMS. Any information or applications sent via email will not be considered. And also, as an important reminder, applications are considered submitted once the application has received superintendent approval status entered in GEMS. As a reminder, please confirm that you have all permissions updated in GEMS early to avoid delays.
As we come to a close for today, I invite you to put any last questions that you have in the chat. My colleagues and I will be collecting all questions. Due to the competitive nature of the PRISM 2 and 3 grants, all questions will be answered in writing on a FAQ document and on the PRISM website. I also invite you to please email me, Octavia Nixon, with any PRISM 2 questions and Lori McNally with any PRISM 3 questions. Because of the competitive nature of the grant, questions will not be answered directly via email and will instead be answered publicly on the FAQ. After submitting your questions, you are free to log off. Thank you again for your interest in PRISM 2 and/or PRISM 3. We are excited to support you on this journey.
Thank you.